mentions here in Majmu Fatawa, and he says that all of this, number one, why is shirk such a big problem? Why is shirk? A non-Muslim might ask, just leave them to it. They want to worship a tree, let them worship a tree. How does that affect you? Why is it so, why is it such a big sin with you guys? Shaykh al-Islam answers that question. Number one, like we said before, Islam establishes justice in all areas, no matter how big, no matter how small. If you go home and you've oppressed your son or your daughter, even if they are 2 years old, you have to hold your hands up and say, I've oppressed you. I am sorry. I have done something wrong. And from this you will get a lot of khair. That 2-year-old will understand that yes, even my father can make a mistake. Yes, if I make a mistake, I don't get angry. Yes, if I make a mistake, make tawbah or go back, rectify yourself. There's a lot of khair that can come back if you do the right thing. Number one, do the right thing. Just this. This is why shirk is not tolerated. This doesn't mean that we are intolerant towards the people of shirk. This is going back to what we were talking about, the Khawarij. Just because something is bad doesn't mean we behave bad towards people who are doing bad. Number one. Number two, it contradicts the Fitrah. Allah has created you on a disposition to worship Him. Fitratullah allati fatara an-nas alayha. Allah has created mankind upon a fitrah. If you change that fitrah, then you are corrupting the way Allah has created you. Let me ask you a question. If a person says to me tomorrow, we have a new way of changing tattoos. Tattoos now, you can do art. Very nice. Tomorrow, I can make you, I can make you black. Black, as in you want to become black. You want to become white, whiter than the people in Russia. I can do that for you. It's a new tattoo service that we have here. What do you think about that? What is Islam's stance on that? Islam's stance on tattoos, Islam's stance on changing the creation of Allah is exactly the same. That it is not permissible for you to permanently change your state. If this is the case of something which is your skin, then what about your iman in your heart? Changing, corrupting the fitrah that Allah has created you permanently is not acceptable with Islam. Shaykh al-Islam also says it contradicts your aql. How can you worship a tree? How can you worship something that worships Allah itself? Dependent on... It doesn't make sense. And when you challenge the most intellectual people about, the shirk that they are upon, they don't want to know. And number 4, taqleed and ignorance in matters of shirk. Lead to confusion and disruption. So if a person says to me now, okay, look, this person wants to do shirk, let him carry on doing shirk, you want to be a Muslim, let's just be liberal and tolerate everyone. Khalas, we're living in a country where you have to do that, and that's fine. That's now your religious obligation to tolerate the Sikh and to tolerate the Hindu, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we will say that we will do shirk with them. We have a belief in Tawheed. Taib. But now, if you look at what's happened in this third principle where you have people worshipping angels and trees, etc., what's happened? Their culture and their religions become polluted, and they have no standardization anymore. Ignorance has become widespread. And like we've talked about this before, you will find a person with the longest of beards and the biggest of turbans drinking alcohol and listening to music and behaving in a very bad manner. Why? Because their religion is not giving them, or is feeding ignorance and feeding ignorance. So what we are saying here now is that when you start making taqleed and you start polluting, then this will create a disruption in society and to morals and etiquettes and things like this, etc. The Shaykh himself, I don't want to go into it because we're pressed on time. The Shaykh himself actually gives the same sort of order where he talks about angels, people worshipping angels on page 124, 125.